Style. 1. What do we mean when we say style? Not just stylishness, not just a matter of opinion, not just sounding cool. Nothing like that. A particular kind of algorithm, rather. Style is plain English style in the context of these kinds of workshops. And what we're after is clarity. What we're after is honesty. What we're after is accountability. Call this a grammar of responsibility, a kind of English for honest people who want to identify clearly who's doing what as they write their documents. Whether those documents be reports in a hospital or at the construction site, whether those are liberal arts documents, whether those are histories, whatever it is you're here to write, from lab reports to stories. You've got to make it clear who the main character in the story actually is and what they're doing. There's a way to do that every time. And it's something that happens right at the sentence level. What is it that makes your writing less wordy? What is it that makes your writing more clear? What is it that we mean by plain English? It's a matter of using the front end of the sentence in a clear and responsible way, which means putting in the clear key character. Stories are just one example. Stories that we remember, stories that we can connect to, because they follow this simple pattern. It's not easy to do, but it's simple once you've done it. It makes it to where readers can understand what you've got to say. This isn't it. The carrying of food baskets through the woods to grandmother's house has been affected by an encounter. Escapes have been facilitated by the letting down of hair from the top of the tower. Permission to attend the ball was granted if completion of chores was implemented. But the unlikelihood of that occurrence successfully terminating was high. That's how we sound when we're trying to sound smart, and it's awful. Because who is this really about? Little Red Riding Hood was skipping. Good, precise verb. Excellent. I wish all of my tech writing students could write like that. Who did what, for heaven's sake? Little Red Riding Hood was skipping through the woods, carrying a basket of food to her grandmother, when suddenly a wolf jumped out from behind a tree. That's the important information. That's what we need to know. Look, a wolf. Not an interruption, not an encounter. Rapunzel let down her hair from the top of the tower, and the prince climbed up. Together they planned an escape. That's who's responsible for the action here. Cinderella's stepmother promised that if Cinderella finished all the chores, she could attend the ball, but the wicked stepmother gave her such a long list. Cinderella knew what was up. Right? So this is crucial, that we be able to do this. And it might seem natural or even easy to us when we look at a fairy tale. But what about when we start to look at some student writing? Rewrite these sentences in plain English, starting each one with a clear character and action. It's going to take you a few attempts. It really will. In the United States, our variety of population is evidence of strong immigration, which in turn has created a heavy multicultural presence. So this is a story about a variety creating a presence. Once upon a time, a variety was skipping through the woods when suddenly a presence jumped out from behind a tree. It's terrible writing. It's grammatical. It's technically correct. It just doesn't tell you who did what. So it's useless. It's useless to an employer. It's useless to a manager. It's useless to your colleagues. It's useless to your teachers. Please don't write like that. Who did what? A lack of efficiency has been a key aspect in how not just Americans, but people from countries around the world see America as having an inadequate government. Oh dear. Who did what? Who's responsible for that inefficiency? We need a style for responsible people that can identify who did what. In 2013, July 4th spending resulted in around $2.4 billion for cookout spendings. And you see the wordiness creeping up there. As we get ourselves tangled in grammatical knots, we forget to say who's really responsible. But that's what the story is about. Immigrants have come. The President and Congress cannot accomplish the work of the government sometimes, it seems. People at home and abroad may see our system as inadequate. Americans spent $2.4 billion. Americans spent. Character, verb. How about this one? Now, it was written dishonestly. It was written to hide the accountable party. But we shouldn't write like that. We should say who did what. Your vehicle may require adjustment service to the hood secondary catch system. This catch may be misaligned so that the hood may not be adequately restrained to prevent hood fly-up. Sudden hood fly-up beyond the secondary catch while driving could impair driver visibility. Occurrence of the above could result in vehicle crash without prior warning. Now, if it really does impair driver visibility, that means the driver becomes invisible. Is that what they meant? Or did they trip over their own English because they were so busy trying to hide their own responsibility? Somebody messed up here. And the only way to express it is with characters and verbs. So think about this. What's the verb of adjustment? Because somebody's going to need to do that. Turns out it's adjust. Someone has to adjust a thing. So this requires some mental work on our part, because we have to think about, okay, that noun is hiding the action that needs to take place. May be misaligned. There's an adjective hiding what needs to take place, or what did take place. Who misaligned it? Someone messed up. So the hood will fly up. If it does, you won't be able to see, and you could crash. This is a story about humans making mistakes and hurting other people. That's a story that needs to be told, not just in a legalistic way that hides real responsibility. So that's what we're in the business of doing here. Writing clearly, writing honestly, writing responsibly, in ways that readers can read quickly, so that if you're at a job and you're trying to communicate something, you'll be able to do so. Don't sound smart. Please, your teachers and future employers beg you. Don't sound smart. Be clear. Identify the key characters in your story. Put them at the front of the sentence. Couple them to verbs. Honest, sophisticated, savvy. Good things all. And it's not the same at all as trying to sound smart. Readers look for this information at the front of your sentence. They need to know. They need to know quickly at the front end of the sentence who did what. Therefore, we can quantify this. Underline, highlight the first 5 words of your sentence. Get out a paragraph that you've written recently. Look at the first 5 words of each sentence. Or try this the next time you have to write a paper. If you don't see a character and verb in those first 5 words, something went wrong and it needs to be revised. Now, it's perfectly fine and well to get ideas down on paper as best you can. We all do that when we're drafting. It's actually important to be able to throw something on paper and not worry too much about it. You don't want to be stuck looking at a blank sheet forever. But step 2, once you've written that draft, there's a reason we call it a draft, you go back and do this. This is the first thing you do. That's why we're doing it in the first style module. Go back and highlight the first 5 words of each and every sentence, and if you don't see a character and a verb, fix it. Fix it. Because that's where readers look for that information, and if they do not see it, they get confused. They start to guess. We've all done this. We do this when we are reading, when we're in a hurry, when we're reading a document, trying to get to the point, and we're not sure what the point is because the writer wrote it badly. We guess. And when people guess, they usually guess wrong. So use those human characters at the beginning of the sentence. And yes, of course, sure, sometimes you're writing a chemistry report and it's about a neodymium magnet and the main character is neodymium. Great, awesome. Put that at the front of the sentence. But that's where it needs to go. That's the position. Your professor tells you you have to use passive voice. Great, do that. But the verb goes at the front of the sentence. It doesn't matter if it's active or passive. That's the place where you should put it. That's the location. Plain English style is about location. And the front of the sentence is the first thing you want to get right. Next time we'll look at the end of the sentence. Thanks.